The galaxy waited. For years, for decades, for what felt like lifetimes, the great empires leaned back in their thrones of metal and crystal and whispered the same words: humanity is finished. The fleets of the Zirel Dominion patrolled the broken edges of Sol. The Union of Thousand Suns closed their records on Earth, declaring it a burned-out world. The Caruvian Ascendancy, the most arrogant of them all, spoke loudly in their courts. The humans have gone quiet, they said. At last, their noise is over. Every alien empire agreed. Humanity, once loud, restless, always building and fighting, had finally fallen silent. No fleets roamed the trade lanes. No human colonies answered calls. No transmissions escaped Earth. The galaxy believed this was the end of the human story. But deep in the void, behind shattered moons and forgotten stations, something was moving. A pulse in the dark, hidden signals bouncing off dust clouds, whispers of coded messages no alien could break. The silence was not death. It was the countdown. On the edge of Sol System, Commander Yarrick of the Zirel Dominion stared at his screens. For 30 years, he'd commanded the listening post orbiting Pluto. His job was boring but simple: watch the humans, record their silence, and make sure they never rose again. The screens showed nothing, just the frozen orbits of planets, the dull glow of Earth's dying cities, and the static silence that had become normal. Yarrick often joked to his crew that he could command the station while sleeping, but tonight something changed. A faint signal blinked across the lower display. Not strong, not clear, but present. A rhythm. 4 beats, a pause, 4 beats again. Not random static, not natural, deliberate. "Filter that," Yarrick barked. His second officer obeyed, running the data through translation programs. The machines spat out nonsense, symbols, unknown code, no language they had ever seen. It repeated. Again. 4 beats, pause. 4 beats, pause. "What is it?" the officer asked. Yarrick leaned closer. His scales twitched with unease. "It is a countdown. Far across the stars, in the shining capital of the Union of Thousand Suns, the Galactic Council gathered. Representatives of 50 species stood under the Great Dome, staring at the same recordings Commander Yarrick had sent. The Caruvian ambassador hissed with laughter. "It is nothing. Broken machines on their ruined world, ghost noise." The Zirel Dominion disagreed. "It is human. The code is too sharp, too exact." The council's chair, a pale creature of light from the Thrin, demanded silence. "Humans have been broken for 40 years. They lost their colonies. Their fleets shattered in the Orion Wars. Earth is a shadow. There can be no return." But one voice cut through. Admiral Corrin of the Dal Consortium leaned forward. "You are wrong. I fought them. I saw what they built from nothing. Humans do not stay silent. When they are quiet, it is because they are planning." His words fell heavy. No one answered. Beneath the surface of Earth, under mountains that looked ruined and cities that seemed abandoned, machines worked. Entire continents had been hollowed into shipyards. Oceans hid vast docks. Humans had learned to disappear. They had learned that to roar too soon was to die. For 40 years they had stayed hidden, their signals cut, their colonies appearing abandoned. To the galaxy, it looked like surrender. But beneath that mask, a new power was growing. Deep in the caverns of Siberia, a woman stood at the command table. Admiral Sarah Kepler, survivor of the Orion Wars, looked at the glowing map. Dots of light represented fleets, not alien fleets, human fleets, old warships rebuilt from scrap, new warships forged in secret, silent engines waiting for the order to rise. 30 years of silence, she whispered. "They think we are dead, but tomorrow the countdown ends." Around her, commanders nodded. Their voices were hard, their faces carved by decades of waiting. "We are ready." On the listening post near Pluto, Commander Yarrick could not sleep. The countdown had not stopped. It grew louder, stronger, filling every channel with those same 4 beats. He demanded permission to investigate, but his superiors laughed at him. "Humans are broken," they said. "Your sensors are faulty." But Yarrick knew better. His instincts screamed at him. He turned his ships toward the inner system. His crew protested. His orders were to watch, not to enter. "I will watch closer," he growled. As they moved past Neptune, they saw it, a flicker in the dark, a shadow where no shadow should be. Then another, and another, great black shapes floating. Near the asteroid belt, no light, no heat, no broadcast, dead to every sensor but the eyes. Warships. At first, Yarrick thought they were ruins, old human ships drifting, forgotten relics of the Orion Wars. But as his fleet scanned, the shadows lit up, one by one, massive. Engines roared to life, burning with strange new energy. The silence shattered. Yarrick's crew screamed. Dozens of human warships turned slowly, their hulls painted with symbols of Earth, their weapons locked on. Their presence filled the void with one undeniable truth. Humanity had never surrendered. Yarrick sent a desperate signal to the Council. "They are awake. The humans are awake." The message spread faster than light across relay chains. Every empire received the same desperate cry. In the halls of power, leaders gathered again. Panic replaced arrogance. "They were supposed to be broken," one emperor shouted. "They cannot have rebuilt without us knowing," another argued. But recordings showed the truth. Humans had hidden in the shadows, rebuilding quietly, silently, unseen. And now their warships moved. Admiral Corrin of the Dahl spoke again. His voice carried fear and respect. "This is what I warned you of. Humanity's silence was not weakness. It was their greatest weapon." From the hidden command beneath Siberia, Admiral Sarah Kepler sent the first human broadcast in decades. Every empire heard it. Her voice was calm, strong, and carried through. "Every system. For 40 years you thought us broken. You called us silent. You believed humanity was finished. You were wrong. We were not silent. We were preparing. The countdown is over." The galaxy froze. Billions listened in horror and awe, and in the skies above Earth, hundreds of warships rose from the oceans, breaking through storm clouds, engines blazing. Their roar shook the stars. On his station near Pluto, Commander Yarrick watched the impossible sight. Human fleets moving like shadows, then roaring like storms. He whispered to himself, his scales trembling. They were never gone. The first human fleet vanished into hyperspace, heading outward, not to defend Earth, but to strike. The countdown had ended. The galaxy's silence was broken, and the war to shake the stars had begun. The void of space had always been silent. No breath, no wind, no sound. Fleets passed like shadows, engines glowing, but silence was constant. It was the one truth every race of the galaxy trusted, until now. On the far edge of the Centauri trade lanes, a Zirel patrol ship drifted. It was routine work, boring, endless. Nothing ever happened. The crew had done the same route for years, expecting the same silence. But on this night, their instruments shook. At first it was a vibration, a low hum, so deep they thought it was a fault in the engines. Then the vibration grew stronger. The walls trembled, the lights flickered, and though space itself should have been quiet, every soul on board swore they heard it. A roar. It was not sound in the air. It was power in the bones, shaking the nerves, beating against the heart. Engines unlike any they had ever known growled in the distance. Something vast was coming, something alive, awake and furious. The patrol captain rushed to the deck. His eyes widened as the blackness of the void tore open. A human warship appeared, massive, dark, its hull burning with strange fire. Its engines thundered like a beast in the abyss. The silence of 40 years was gone. Humanity had roared again. The Zeril captain stumbled back. His crew froze in shock. The ship before them did not match any record. Its design was sharp, brutal, nothing like the battered relics they had seen in the Orion Wars. This was new, this was deadly. "Signal the fleet," the captain screamed. "Humans are here." The crew obeyed, but the message went out too late. The human warship moved with terrifying speed. Its weapons lit up the void. Beams of light tore through the darkness, hitting the patrol ship's escorts. 2 Zyrel cruisers exploded before. Their alarms could finish sounding. The roar grew louder, engines shaking every star around them. The human ship advanced, its cannons burning holes through steel. The captain cried out, "Retreat!" But retreat was impossible. One by one, the patrol fleet was shredded. Only the captain's ship survived long enough to flee. As it limped into hyperspace, the humans let it go. They wanted the story carried. They wanted the galaxy to know the silence was broken. When the news reached the Galactic Council, panic erupted. The ambassadors of 50 species shouted at once, voices clashing. In fear and rage, the Keruvian ambassador slammed his claws. "This is impossible. Humans do not have the resources to build such a warship. They cannot rise again." But the Zyrel representative snarled back, "We saw it. Our fleets are ash. This is no rumor." Admiral Corrin of the Dahl Consortium rose from his seat. His voice carried over the chaos. "I told you this would happen. I warned you their silence was a weapon. Now you hear the roar." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Finally, across the galaxy, every screen flickered, every channel went dead. Then one voice, human and sharp, filled the void. "This is Admiral Sarah Kepler of Earth. To all empires who watch us. You thought we were broken. You thought we were silent. You thought we were weak. Now you will hear us." Behind her voice came the thunder of engines, a deep, endless roar. For a moment, it felt like the galaxy itself was shaking. Then the transmission cut. No one doubted the message. Humanity was no longer silent. Far from the Council's capital, deep inside the asteroid belt of Sol, more human warships stirred. Hundreds of them, long hidden in hollowed rocks, powered up together. Their engines burned with strange dark matter cores. Their hulls glimmered with alloys no alien scanners could read. Each ship carried scars of old wars, but each had been reforged into something greater. The silence had not been weakness. It had been time to sharpen every blade. Admiral Kepler stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute. The ship's windows showed the endless stars, now filled with her hidden armada. Her officers stood waiting. 40 years of silence, Kepler said. 40 years they thought us gone, but today we return. Today we show them the roar of warships, the crew answered as one. For Earth, the union of 1,000 suns, arrogant and proud, decided to act first. They assembled a fleet of 200 warships in the Centauri system. Their plan was simple. Lure the humans, overwhelm them, and crush the threat before it spread. They waited near the trade lanes, weapons charged, confident in their numbers, but humans were watching. From hidden satellites and cloaked probes, they studied the alien fleet. They saw every weakness, every blind spot, every mistake, and when the time was right, the humans struck. The Resolute led the charge, engines roaring like storms. The sound vibrated through the alien ships, filling every crew with dread. Human weapons fired beams that bent space, tearing shields apart. Missiles of unknown design flew faster than light, striking before alarms could sound. The Union fleet fought back with fury, but their weapons slid off human hulls as if striking shadows. The roar did not stop. It grew louder, stronger, a chorus of engines and cannons. By the end, only 20 Union ships limped away. The rest were gone, burned into dust. The galaxy trembled. The battle at Centauri spread fear faster than any disease. Reports flew across every world. The humans had returned. Their fleets were not relics but monsters of steel and fire. On trade stations, whispers spread. Did you hear it? The sound, the roar of their engines. On alien colonies, soldiers trembled. If they come here, we cannot stop them. Even in the thrones of emperors, silence hung heavy. The galaxy had spent decades laughing at human weakness. Now no one laughed. One Union captain survived the Centauri battle. His ship drifted, scarred and broken, until it was recovered by allies. When questioned, his voice shook as he described what he had seen. They did not fight like us. They did not hesitate. They moved with the silence of predators. And then, when their engines lit, I heard it. A roar, louder than death. It was not just ships, it was humanity itself. His words were repeated in every chamber, in every court, in every dark place where leaders planned their next move. Back on Earth, Admiral Kepler studied the reports. The Union had been crushed, but the galaxy would not stay frozen in fear for long. Soon they would gather, combine their fleets, and strike with everything they had. Her officers asked, "Do we wait? Do we defend?" Kepler shook her head. "No. The roar cannot stop. We must keep them on their heels. We strike again, harder, louder, until the galaxy understands that silence is over." She raised her hand. "Prepare the next fleet. Our war is not to survive. Our war is to shake the stars." The order was clear. Humanity's silence had ended. The first roar was only the beginning. On the rim of the Hadrian Nebula, a Caruvian scout ship drifted through the swirling clouds of gas. Its scanners swept the silence, searching for pirates or smugglers. For days, the nebula had been quiet. For years, it had been ignored. But tonight, something stirred. The scanners pinged. A massive shape appeared in the fog. The captain frowned, thinking it was just a rock. Then another shape appeared, larger, sharper, its edges too exact for nature. The crew whispered in fear. The shapes were ships, human ships. They were not glowing with power. They were cold, silent, hidden in the gas. Dozens of them, hundreds of them. Their black hulls looked like tombs. They floated without signal, without light, like ghosts waiting for the end of time. The scout's captain tried to laugh. "They are wrecks, dead ships." But then one of the silent hulks came alive. Its engines lit with dark fire, its weapons charged, and its hull glowed with symbols of Earth. The crew screamed. More engines lit, one after another. Hundreds of forgotten warships came alive in the nebula. The ghosts were not dead. They had been waiting, and now they rose. The Galactic Council met again in panic. Reports from the Hadrian Nebula filled the chamber. Caruvian scouts had fled, their voices shaking as they described the endless human fleet hiding in the mist. The Caruvian ambassador spat venom. "This cannot be. We destroyed their fleets in the Orion Wars. These ships should not exist," the Zyral representative answered coldly. "Yet they exist. Our patrols confirm it. Humans did not rebuild a few warships. They hid entire armadas." The chamber erupted in shouting. Some demanded war, some demanded peace. Some called for negotiations, others for extermination. Admiral Corrin of the Dal Consortium stood tall, his voice steady. "You still do not understand. They planned this. They tricked us. For decades they made us believe they were broken. But they hid their fleets in the dust, in the rocks, in the shadows. This was never silence. This was preparation." The room fell silent. Fear grew heavy in every heart. Far beneath the mountains of Earth, Admiral Sarah Kepler watched the reports come in. Her commanders showed her the images from the nebula, human fleets emerging, one after another, each one answering the call of the silent countdown. For decades, humans had hidden their warships in every corner of the galaxy. Ships crippled in old battles were secretly towed away and rebuilt in silence. Colonies that seemed abandoned were in truth vast shipyards, constructing new vessels under camouflage fields. Asteroid belts became hiding places for dreadnoughts. Nebulas became graveyards that were not graves at all. Kepler's voice was steady. "The galaxy thinks we rebuilt only on Earth. They are wrong. Humanity never stopped moving. Every shadow they ignored, we filled. Every ruin they forgot, we claimed. Now our forgotten fleets return." Her officers saluted. The time of silence was gone. Inside the Hadrian Nebula, the forgotten armada formed ranks. Hundreds of ships lined up, each one bearing the scars of old wars, each one reforged into something greater. The flagship of the armada, the Iron Dawn, lit its engines. Its captain, Marcus Hale, addressed his crew. "For 40 years we waited in the dark. We watched the galaxy laugh at us. We watched them spit on Earth's name. Now we rise. We are the armada they thought forgotten. And today we return to the stars." The fleet roared to life. Engines burned, cannons charged. The forgotten armada was forgotten no longer. News of the armada spread across alien colonies. On trade worlds, merchants shut their shops. On border stations, soldiers abandoned. Posts everywhere, whispers grew. They hid fleets in the shadows. They were never broken. "The humans are coming." On one Caruvian colony, children asked their parents what the roar was. The parents had no answer. They had never heard such fear before. The Caruvian ascendancy could not accept humiliation. They sent a fleet of 300 ships into the Hadrian Nebula, determined to crush the humans before they escaped. Their commanders believed the humans were weak, that their fleets were old and fragile. But as they entered the nebula, the truth revealed itself. The humans had prepared a trap. Mines hidden in the gas clouds detonated, tearing apart the vanguard. Human warships emerged from every angle, their dark hulls shining with fire. The Iron Dawn led the charge. Its cannons split Caruvian cruisers in half. Human fighters swarmed like shadows, striking before the enemy could react. The nebula glowed with explosions. The roar of human engines filled every alien ship. The Caruvian fleet collapsed. Only a handful of ships limped away, carrying one message: the humans are unstoppable. One Caruvian commander survived the massacre. His ship, crippled and burning, escaped the nebula. When he returned to the ascendancy, he fell to his knees before the ruling council. "They are everywhere," he whispered. "The nebula was full of them. Hundreds of ships. They moved like predators. They waited for us in silence, and then they struck like storms. We are not fighting survivors. We are fighting an empire reborn." His words spread like fire. The galaxy trembled. Admiral Kepler ordered the armada to send a single transmission. Across the stars, every empire heard the voice of Captain Marcus Hale of the Iron Dawn. "We are the forgotten fleet. You thought us wrecks, you thought us broken, you thought us gone, but we were never gone. We waited in the dark, and now we rise with Earth. The roar of our warships will never be silenced again." Billions listened in fear. Billions whispered the same word, but pride burned in others. "No. We cannot bow to humans. We must unite. We must destroy them before they grow stronger." The council could not agree. Fear divided them. Pride blinded them. And while they argued, humanity's fleets grew louder. In the skies above Earth, the combined fleets of humans gathered. The Resolute and the Iron Dawn stood side by side. Hundreds of ships filled the void, their engines burning, their weapons glowing. Admiral Kepler stood on her bridge, her eyes hard as steel. The galaxy waited for our silence. They thought us broken, they thought us gone. But we are the roar that shakes the stars, and we will never be silent again. The fleets launched into hyperspace. Their engines thundered across the void, echoing in every corner of the galaxy. The forgotten armada was forgotten no more, and the galaxy would never forget again. The galaxy gathered its strength. In the great shipyards of the Union of Thousand Suns, fleets were armed with new weapons. In the forges of the Caruvian Ascendancy, Dreadnoughts older than empires were pulled from their museums and reforged for war. Even the Zyral Dominion, proud and cautious, sent their best legions to space. The alien races did not trust each other. They had fought for centuries over borders and trade. But now, with the roar of humanity echoing across the stars, they were forced to unite. Over 1,000 ships gathered near the dead star of Korath. Cruisers, carriers, destroyers, and titans. The largest fleet the galaxy had seen in generations. Their commanders swore that humanity would be erased before its fire could spread. But in the silence of the void, hidden beyond their senses, human eyes watched. Admiral Sarah Kepler stood aboard the flagship Resolute. Around her, the forgotten armadas waited, engines silent, weapons armed. Her voice was cold. They think they have gathered enough to destroy us. They think numbers will protect them. They are wrong. Tonight they learn the meaning of fire across the void. The alien fleet moved in perfect formation. Their sensors swept the darkness, searching for the humans. They expected a frontal assault. They expected desperation. They did not expect silence. From behind the rings of a broken moon, the first human strike came. A volley of missiles ripped across the void, tearing into the alien vanguard. 10 ships exploded instantly. Before alarms, could sound beams of dark light cut through cruisers, splitting them apart. The alien admirals shouted orders. Fleets turned, weapons fired blindly into the void. But the humans were already gone, vanishing into shadows, only to strike again from a different angle. Every attack was precise. Every strike was brutal. The void burned with fire, and the roar of human engines filled the stars. The galaxy was not weak. Their combined fleet had numbers, and they fought with fury. Zyrel destroyers unleashed storms of plasma. Keruvian dreadnoughts fired cannons that cracked asteroids apart. Union carriers launched wave after wave of fighters. For a moment, it seemed humanity would be crushed by sheer weight. On the bridge of the Resolute, alarms blared. Human ships exploded under the endless storm. The officers looked to Admiral Kepler. Her face was calm, her voice steady. "Hold the line. This is the fire we waited for." The forgotten armada surged forward. The Iron Dawn and its fleet charged straight into the center of the alien formation. Cannons roared, missiles screamed, human fighters cut through enemy swarms like knives. The battle turned into chaos. Ships burned, hulls split. The void itself seemed to crack with the fire of war. At the heart of the alien fleet, the Keruvian super-dreadnought Bloodfang loomed. Its guns were larger than cities. Its armor was thicker than mountains. Entire fleets had fallen before its fire. The alien commanders believed it would be their unstoppable hammer, but the humans had planned for it. The Iron Dawn and 3 human cruisers targeted the giant. They weaved through its fire, dodging blasts that could shatter moons. The dreadnought roared like a beast, tearing apart one cruiser with a single shot. But the humans pressed on. They moved like hunters. They closed in. At point-blank range, the Iron Dawn fired its experimental cannon. A beam of energy, dark and burning, pierced straight through the Bloodfang. The dreadnought cracked open, fire spilling from its core. The galaxy's strongest ship was gone, and with it the enemy's courage. The destruction of the Bloodfang spread panic through the alien fleet. Formations broke. Admirals shouted conflicting orders. Some ships charged forward, desperate to avenge the dreadnought. Others turned to flee. The humans seized the moment. Admiral Kepler gave the order. "All fleets, full assault, let the void burn." The roar of engines answered. Human ships surged from the shadows, striking from every side. Missiles and beams lit the dark. Alien ships exploded in waves. The great fleet of the galaxy began to collapse. Far away in the council chambers, leaders watched the battle through live feeds. Their faces were pale. Their hands trembled. "They are tearing us apart," One ambassador whispered. "This cannot be," another muttered. "We had the numbers. We had the weapons." Admiral Corrin of the Dahl Consortium spoke with grim certainty. "You do not understand. Humans do not fight for numbers. They fight for survival. They fight to win. And when they strike with fire that cannot be stopped." His words silenced the chamber. Back in the battle, the galaxy's fleets continued to fall. Entire squadrons were erased in seconds. The void glowed with endless fire. Human. Ships moved like predators, striking and vanishing, hunting in packs. Every alien weapon seemed too slow, too clumsy, too weak. The Resolute fired volley after volley, tearing apart carriers and destroyers. The Iron Dawn burned through battleships, its hull glowing with scars, but refusing to fall. The void was no longer silent. It was alive with fire, alive with the roar of warships. Desperate, the alien commanders gathered what ships they could. They formed a shield wall, a last attempt to hold back the human advance. Hundreds of ships locked together, weapons blazing, determined to stop the tide. Admiral Kepler saw the formation. Her eyes hardened. "They will not stop us. They will not silence us again. Prepare the final strike." Human fleets regrouped, engines roared, weapons glowed. Together they charged. The impact was unstoppable. The human armada broke through the shield wall, tearing it apart piece by piece. Explosions lit the stars like suns. The galaxy's united fleet was finished. When the battle ended, the void was filled with wreckage. Alien ships drifted in ruins. Flames burned in the cold dark. But among the wreckage, human warships stood strong. Scarred, battered, but victorious, Admiral Kepler looked out over the destruction. Her voice was calm, steady, filled with steel. "They thought they could end us. They thought numbers would save them. But we are the fire that crosses the void, and we will never be silenced." Her officers saluted. The roar of humanity's victory echoed across every system. The news spread faster than light. The greatest fleet in history had fallen. Humanity had stood against the galaxy and won. On alien worlds, riots broke out. On colonies, soldiers deserted. Merchants whispered in fear. Ordinary citizens stared at the stars, wondering when the roar of human engines would arrive at their doorstep. The galaxy had expected silence. Instead, it burned with fire. Far from the battle, deep in an unknown sector, hidden probes recorded the human victory. The data was sent to a secret chamber where ancient beings watched. One of them spoke in a voice like stone. "The humans have awakened. The fire is theirs again." Another answered, its eyes glowing. "Then the galaxy is not ready for what comes next." The chamber fell into silence, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence before another storm. The skies above Earth burned with falling wreckage. Pieces of alien ships, shattered in the great battle, drifted across the atmosphere like black comets. The people of Earth stood in silence, watching the heavens rain steel and fire. Some whispered prayers, others clenched their fists. Children pointed and asked their parents if the war was finally over. But deep in their hearts, humanity knew the truth. Victory in the void did not mean safety. It only meant survival. For now. Admiral Sarah Kepler returned to Earth aboard the Resolute. Her ship was scarred, its hull torn and blackened, but it carried the fire of triumph. When she stepped onto the soil of her homeworld, crowds cheered and wept. Yet even as banners waved and songs of victory rose, Kepler's eyes were cold. She had seen the shadows gathering beyond the stars. Beneath the surface of Earth, in a hidden bunker carved into the bedrock, the Human Council assembled. Generals, scientists, and leaders filled the chamber. Holographic displays flickered, showing maps of alien systems, wrecked fleets, and distant worlds. The Council's leader, Chancellor Yara Lin, spoke first. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "We won the battle, but not the war. The Galaxy will not forgive us. They will come again, stronger, united, and this time they will not underestimate us. Admiral Kepler stood at the center of the room. Her uniform was torn, her face lined with exhaustion, but her voice carried steel. Let them come. We are ready now. We have the fire. But they were not from the fleets humans had just destroyed. They were older, far older. These are not council codes, Ren said. These come from the ancients. Long before the Union of Thousand Suns or the Zyral Dominion, there were beings who ruled the stars. They vanished thousands of years ago, leaving ruins across the galaxy. Now they stir again. The council shifted uneasily. Kepler's eyes narrowed. And they watch us. Ren nodded. Yes, our probes found signals hidden in the wreckage after the battle. Someone was recording everything. Someone beyond the council. Someone who now knows exactly what we are capable of. 3 days later, the shadows came. Over the dark side of Earth's moon, unknown ships emerged from the void. They were unlike any the galaxy had seen before. Black hulls that swallowed light, engines that burned without sound, weapons that seemed to bend space itself. They did not announce themselves. They did not fire. They only watched. Human fleets scrambled. The Resolute and the Iron Dawn rose from Earth's orbit, weapons armed, ready for battle. But the black ships did not move. They floated in silence like hunters studying prey. On the bridge, Kepler gave the order. Open hails. No answer. Signal again. No answer. The silence was worse than any threat. At last, one of the ships stirred. A beam of light crossed the void, striking the Resolute. Symbols burned across the main screen, shifting and twisting, until they formed words in human language. The crew froze. The message was simple. You are not ready. And then, just as suddenly the ships vanished into darkness, the message spread across Earth within hours. People filled the streets, shouting in fear and anger. Some demanded more warships, others begged for peace. Religious leaders declared the shadows as gods or demons. Scientists warned of powers beyond imagination. Humanity had stood against the galaxy and survived. But now a new fear grew, an enemy they could not see, could not understand. Kepler stood before the council once more. Her voice was grim. The council of the galaxy was dangerous. But these shadows are worse. They are older. They are watching, and they will strike when they choose. Earth's factories roared with new life. Warships were built faster than ever before. Young men and women filled the training academies, learning to fight, to pilot, to command. Scientists worked day and night to unlock new weapons, new defenses, new engines. But Kepler knew it would not be enough. The shadows did not fight with numbers or brute force. They fought with fear. They fought with silence. They fought with the unknown. And that was more dangerous than any fleet. As preparations grew, a message arrived from the outer colonies. Survivors of the first battles had regrouped. Forgotten fleets once thought lost returned to Earth's banner. Captains scarred by fire swore loyalty to Kepler and her command. Among them was Captain Arden Voss, commander of the Black Horizon. His ship had been missing for years, lost in a distant nebula. Now it returned, scarred and strange. When Kepler asked him how he survived, his answer was chilling. We were guided, he said, through the storm, through the void, by whispers. They showed us the path, but I do not know if they were friends or enemies. The council trembled. That night, as Earth slept, Kepler stood alone on the bridge of the Resolute. The stars stretched. Before her, endless and cold, she thought of the message. You are not ready. She thought of the alien ruins scattered across the galaxy, the remnants of the ancients. She thought of the whispers that guided Voss through the void, and she knew the truth. The war with the Council had been only the beginning. The shadows of Earth's future were darker than anyone could imagine. Suddenly, alarms screamed. The Resolute's sensors lit up. Unknown energy signatures filled the system. Dozens of them, hundreds. Kepler turned sharply, her eyes narrowing. They're back. The shadows had returned, but this time they were not watching. They were advancing. The void outside Earth flared with silent fire as the black ships closed. In the sky above Earth turned black, not with night, not with smoke, but with ships. The shadows had come. Hundreds of them drifted above the moon, silent and cold, their black hulls swallowing the light of the sun. They did not speak. They did not signal. They only advanced, closing in on Earth with the weight of ancient judgment. Panic gripped the world. Sirens screamed across cities. People filled bunkers. Soldiers ran to stations. Every eye turned to the heavens as the sky filled with an enemy unlike anything they had ever faced. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Sarah Kepler stood firm. Her officers whispered in fear, staring at the impossible fleet. The shadow ships had no markings, no visible weapons, no engine trails. They simply moved, unstoppable and silent, like ghosts made of iron. Kepler's voice cut through the fear. They came for us. They think silence will break us. But humanity does not bow to shadows. We meet them in fire. Her words steadied the room. The order was given. The shadow war had begun. Human warships launched from Earth. The Resolute, the Iron Dawn, the black horizon, and dozens of cruisers rose into orbit, engines burning bright against the cold void. They formed a line above Earth, weapons armed, shields raised. The shadows did not slow. Kepler gave the command. "Open fire!" Missiles streaked across the void. Beams of energy slashed forward. Explosions lit the black. For a moment, hope surged. But when the fire cleared, the shadow fleet remained untouched. Not a single hull was scarred. The weapons of humanity passed through them as if striking mist. The officers gasped. Fear rippled across the fleet. Then the shadows answered. From the black ships came no missiles, no beams, no plasma. Instead, waves of distortion rippled through space. Human ships shook violently. Engines died. Systems went dark. Screens flickered with static. The cruiser Vanguard screamed as its hull folded in on itself, crushed by invisible hands. It imploded without a sound, disappearing into nothing. Another ship cracked in half, torn apart by forces no one could measure. Crew voices filled the comms with screams before silence claimed them. The shadows did not fire weapons. They simply reached out, and ships died. Admiral Kepler's voice thundered through the chaos. Hold formation. Fight back. Adapt. She ordered her fleet to switch tactics. Missiles were useless. Beams were useless. Instead, human ships charged head-on, using ramming maneuvers and close-range plasma bursts. The Iron Dawn led the charge, slamming into a shadow ship with full speed. The collision shook the void. For the first time, a shadow hull cracked. The crew of the Iron Dawn roared with victory as their plasma cannons tore into the wound. The black ship shuddered, then broke apart in silence. The impossible had been proven. The shadows could bleed, but the shadows struck back. Dozens of them broke past the human line, descending toward Earth. Cities trembled as beams of invisible force cut through the skies. Skyscrapers crumbled. Oceans boiled. Millions cried out as the shadows attacked without mercy. Human defense cannons fired from the ground. Fighters screamed into the air, but nothing slowed the black ships. They drifted through fire as if it were wind. In New Shanghai, entire districts vanished in seconds. In Nairobi, the earth split open under a shadow blast. In Rio, a wave of destruction rolled across the bay. The world bled. Kepler knew humanity could not win this way. Their weapons were too weak. Their defenses too fragile. But she also knew one truth. Every enemy had a weakness. She called to Captain Arden Voss of the Black Horizon. His ship, strange and scarred from its time lost in the void, had something no other vessel carried: ancient technology, from forgotten ruins. "Captain Voss," she ordered, "test your weapon, now." The black horizon fired. A beam of crimson, light drawn from alien relics, cut across the void. It struck a shadow ship, and for the first time, one exploded in full. Fire burned in the darkness. The fleet roared with hope. Humanity had found the key. With the black horizon leading, human fleets rallied. Every shadow ship targeted by its crimson weapon fell, shattered by fire. The Iron Dawn rammed another, tearing it apart. Cruisers swarmed in coordinated strikes, hitting weak points exposed by the alien beam. For the first time, the shadows retreated. Their fleet pulled back, regrouping near the moon. Earth cheered. The Council rejoiced. Humanity had stood against the impossible and lived. But Kepler's eyes stayed cold. She knew this was not victory. As the humans celebrated, the shadow fleet shifted. Their ships merged together, twisting into new shapes. Dozens of them combined into a single Leviathan, larger than a continent, a creature of living darkness. Its eyes glowed red, its form rippled with impossible energy. The Leviathan turned toward Earth. Sensors screamed warnings. The Resolute shook under its presence. The shadows had revealed their true weapon. The Leviathan struck. A single pulse of energy ripped across space. 5 human ships vanished instantly. Entire squadrons of fighters dissolved into nothing. The Iron Dawn staggered, its hull breaking, but it refused to fall. Kepler ordered all ships to concentrate fire. Missiles, beams, plasma, and the crimson weapon of the Black Horizon tore into the beast. Explosions lit its surface. Black matter burned away. But the Leviathan roared and endured. It reached toward Earth, preparing to unleash destruction unlike anything seen before. Kepler knew what had to be done. She opened a direct channel to her fleets. Humanity does not run. Humanity does not kneel. This is our world. If the shadows want it, they will pay in blood and fire. Today we show them. The roar of warships. The fleets charged. The Resolute led the assault, its cannons blazing. The Iron Dawn, broken and burning, rammed the Leviathan head-on, tearing into its chest. The Black Horizon unleashed its crimson beam, cutting deep into the beast's core. The void became fire. The Leviathan screamed, its body splitting apart. Black fragments shattered across space. For a moment, hope filled the fleet. But then, in the silence that followed, something worse appeared. A new signal emerged on sensors. Dozens more Leviathans stirred in the void, larger than the first, rising from the black. Kepler's heart turned to stone. "This was only the beginning," she whispered. "The Shadow War had only just begun. The Leviathans filled the void. Dozens of them drifted above Earth, larger than mountains, their black forms blotting out the stars. Each one glowed with red fire, each one capable of burning worlds with a single strike. Humanity had barely survived the first Leviathan. Now an army of them stood ready. The fleets of Earth trembled. The Resolute floated at the front, battered and scarred. The Iron Dawn was broken but still alive. The Black Horizon glowed with alien energy, its crimson weapon armed. Every captain knew the truth. One more battle like the last, and Earth would fall. Admiral Sarah Kepler stood at the heart of her flagship, staring into the darkness. She saw not just ships, but the shadow of something older, something that had waited for centuries, watching humanity grow, and now it had come to finish the story. Kepler's voice cut through the silence. "This is not just war. This is truth. We will learn who they are before we die. We will drag their secrets into the light. Ready the fleet." In the council chambers deep beneath Earth, fear grew. Leaders shouted, demanding immediate retreat or desperate surrender. Civilians filled shelters. Panic spread through every city. But Kepler refused to fight blind. She summoned Dr. Elias Wren, the scientist who had uncovered the ancient signals. What? Are they? She demanded. Where did they come from? Wren's eyes were heavy with dread. He projected the symbols recovered from the Shadow's transmissions. They are not new, he said. These marks are carved into ruins on Mars, on Titan, even beneath the oceans of Earth. The Shadows are not from another galaxy. They are older. They were here long before us. The Council gasped. Wren continued. The ancients did not vanish. They became this. They turned themselves into living weapons. They erased their own history and buried their ruins. And now they rise again. Kepler's heart froze. The Shadows were not strangers. They were the galaxy's forgotten masters. Wren revealed more. Before the war began, probes found something. Under Antarctica, a signal. Buried deep, far below the ice. It matches the Shadows' language. I believe it is one of their vaults. If we open it, we may find the key to defeating them. The council erupted in debate. Some cried that digging up the vault would only awaken more enemies. Others insisted it was humanity's only chance. Kepler ended the argument. Prepare an expedition. I will go myself. The next day, shuttles landed on the frozen wastelands of Antarctica. The Resolute hovered above, guarding the skies as teams of soldiers and scientists marched across the ice. At the heart of the frozen desert, scanners revealed a vast structure buried beneath miles of ice. Metal walls older than recorded history. Doors larger than cities. Explosives cracked the surface. Drills carved through frozen layers. Slowly, the ancient vault emerged, glowing faintly with alien light. The doors opened with a sound like thunder. Inside was darkness and silence. Kepler led the team inside. Her boots echoed against metal older than stars. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing faint red. The air was heavy, thick, almost alive. At the center of the hall stood a chamber of crystal. Inside floated a figure, not alive, not dead. Its body was half human, half shadow, frozen in stasis. Wren whispered in fear. It is one of them, but different. A bridge between their kind and ours. The figure's eyes opened. The chamber glowed. A voice filled the hall, deep and ancient, echoing in every mind. You should not have come. You are too young, too loud. The fire you carry will burn the galaxy once more. Kepler stepped forward. Who are you? The figure's eyes burned red. We are the forgotten. We were the rulers of this galaxy before your kind learned to crawl. We turned ourselves into shadows to escape death. We became weapons, but we lost what made us alive. Now we exist only to silence the fire of others, Wren asked, trembling. Why attack us? Why now? The answer chilled the room. Because you are the first to roar again, and fire cannot be allowed to rise twice. But the figure was not like the others. Its body flickered, half shadow, half light. It reached out a hand toward Kepler. I am not whole. I broke away from the swarm. I remember what we were. And I will give you a choice. Surrender your fire and survive as slaves. Or fight and watch your world burn. Kepler's jaw tightened. Her answer was steel. Humanity does not surrender. The figure's expression shifted, almost like a smile. Then, I will give you a weapon, but it will cost you everything. The vault opened further. Inside, machines stirred, engines of impossible design, cannons that bent gravity, armor that defied fire. Wren gasped. This is their technology before they became shadows, real weapons, not the twisted forms they wield. Now, the figure spoke again. Use them, and you may wound the Leviathans, but know this. Every weapon you fire awakens more of my kind. You will draw them all. You will face not dozens, but thousands. Kepler looked at the machines. She saw humanity's only chance. We take them, she ordered. The new weapons were rushed aboard the Resolute, the Iron Dawn, and the Black Horizon. Engineers worked day and night, fusing human steel with ancient fire. When the Leviathans stirred again above Earth, the fleets were ready. Kepler stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the enemy. "Test the gift," she ordered. The black horizon fired its crimson beam, now infused with ancient power. It ripped through a leviathan's chest, splitting it apart. The beast collapsed, burning as it fell into the void. The fleet roared with triumph. Humanity had struck down a god, but the victory was short. The remaining leviathans screamed in silence, their bodies twisting in rage. The void shook as they moved together, forming a ring around Earth. Energy gathered at their cores, brighter than suns. Ren's voice shook with horror. "They are charging something, a combined strike. If they fire, Earth is gone." Kepler's fists clenched. "Then we break the ring." The fleets charged, cannons roared, missiles streaked, ancient weapons fired. Leviathans fell one by one, burning and breaking. But still the ring held. The Leviathan's cores glowed brighter, the light of destruction spreading across the void. Earth shook as their power gathered. Kepler's officers turned to her in fear. "What do we do?" Kepler's eyes burned with fire. "We go through, straight into their heart." The Resolute, the Iron Dawn, and the Black Horizon surged forward, leading the charge into the center of the ring. Behind them, Earth watched in silence as humanity's warships disappeared into the heart of the storm. The void was burning. A ring of Leviathans surrounded Earth, their bodies glowing with light, brighter than suns. Their cores pulsed, gathering energy strong enough to wipe out an entire world. The galaxy watched in silence. Billions across the stars believed it was the end. At the center of the storm, 3 human warships pushed forward. The Resolute led the charge, its battered hull scarred but unbroken. The Iron Dawn followed, still breathing fire despite the wounds of countless battles, and the Black Horizon, half human and half alien, glowed with crimson power stolen from the enemy itself. Admiral Sarah Kepler stood at the front of the Resolute, eyes locked on the wall of Leviathans. She felt the weight of her world behind her. One mistake and Earth would vanish. "Full engines," she ordered. Her voice carried no fear. "We go through." The Leviathans roared in silence, their bodies twisting as the humans charged. Beams of red fire shot across the void. The Iron Dawn took a direct hit, its shields collapsing, flames bursting across its decks. But it did not stop. Its captain drove it forward, guns firing until the barrels glowed. The Black Horizon unleashed its crimson beam. Infused with ancient power, it tore a hole straight through one Leviathan, splitting the monster apart. Pieces of burning flesh and metal drifted into space. The Resolute fired next, launching missiles tipped with stolen ancient cores. The explosion ripped into another Leviathan, cracking its hide. The ring began to break, but the shadows did not falter. Their glow grew brighter. The energy in their cores was almost ready to release. Inside the vault beneath Antarctica, the half-shadow figure stirred. The one who had warned them, the one who remembered what his kind had lost. He watched through ancient vision as the humans fought in the void, and he whispered words that carried across the fleet. "You cannot break them alone, but you can awaken what they fear." On the Resolute, Dr. Ren gasped as signals poured into his console. "Admiral, the figure is sending us coordinates." Deep inside the Leviathan's formation, a core, a mind that controls them all. Kepler's eyes narrowed. "So they are not many, they are one." The fleet shifted course. Instead of retreating, the humans dove straight into the heart of the Leviathan ring. The shadows screamed in silence, twisting to block them, firing blasts of red fire that shook the hulls. The Iron Dawn shielded the others, taking hit after hit until its decks cracked and its engines failed. Its captain, the Resolute and Black Horizon, surged forward as the Iron Dawn exploded in a blaze of light, taking 2 Leviathans with it. Through the flames, Kepler saw it. At the center of the storm floated a structure unlike the Leviathans, a massive heart of shadow pulsing with light. The source All ships, target the core, Kepler ordered. The black horizon charged its crimson beam, the ancient power within its frame screaming to be unleashed. The Resolute armed every weapon it had left. The shadows knew the humans had found their secret. The Leviathans turned as one, rushing to shield the source. Ren's voice shook. If we strike, we might end them. But the energy release could consume us all. Kepler did not flinch. Then we roar louder. The black horizon fired. The beam cut through the void, slamming into the source. The Resolute followed, missiles and cannons blazing, tearing at the pulsing heart. The source screamed. The Leviathans convulsed. The entire void shook as the bond between them shattered, but the source did not die quietly. Its energy erupted outward, a shockwave of red fire spreading in all directions. The blast ripped through Leviathans, tearing them apart. It shattered. The remains of the black horizon, breaking the ship in half. On the Resolute, alarms blared, shields failed, engines flared. The ship shook as if the void itself was trying to tear it apart. Kepler held onto the command chair. Around her, officers struggled to keep the ship alive. Ren shouted, "The wave will reach Earth in minutes." Kepler's eyes burned. "Then we take it with us." She turned to her crew. "Divert all power to the forward shield. Aim the ship into the heart of the blast. If we break it here, Earth survives." Her officers looked at her, fear and pride in their eyes. Then they obeyed. The Resolute charged straight into the storm. Its shields glowed white, burning with every ounce of power left in its core. The hull cracked. Fires spread across its decks, but it did not stop. Kepler stood tall, her voice steady, for Earth, for the living, for the fire. The ship plunged into the source, carrying its weapons, its crew, its will, and then the void exploded. For a long moment, there was only light. From Earth, billions watched the sky as the ring of Leviathans collapsed. One by one, the giants burned, their bodies falling silent. The red glow that had threatened to consume the world faded into darkness. When the light cleared, the sky was empty. The Resolute was gone. The black horizon was gone. Only wreckage floated in the void. But Earth still stood. Humanity still lived. The galaxy waited. For hours, for days, they watched. No more Leviathans came. No more shadows stirred. The source had been destroyed. On. Colonies across the stars, alien species whispered the same truth. Humanity had faced the forgotten. Humanity had roared, and the roar had broken the silence. Years later, children on Earth would look to the stars and ask about the day the sky burned red, and their elders would tell the story of the Resolute. They would tell how humanity stood, alone when the galaxy expected silence, how their warships shook the stars, how one admiral refused to surrender even against gods, and they would end with the same words every time. Remember this, fire can be buried, fire can be hidden, but fire never dies.